Exam Scholar, Real Estate Edition.
Question 1. How many sections are in a township? A. 640. B. 280. C. 36. D. 20. Answer. C. There are 36 sections in a township. There are 640 acres in each section. Question 2. How many square feet are in an acre? A. 43,560. B. 23,040. C. 12,820. D. 64,640. Answer. A. There are 43,560 square feet in an acre. Question 3. When debts of a person are erased in bankruptcy, what is this called? A. Relinquish. B. Discharge. C. Closure. D. Erasure. Answer. B. The act of closing a bankruptcy case and releasing the principal from the debt is called discharge. Question 4. Financing costs usually rise on loans with A. Easy terms. B. Low down payment. C. Both of these. D. None of these. Answer. C. A loan with easy terms and low down payment must be secured, and this usually will raise financing costs. Question 5. If a neighborhood is only partially built and remains this way over a period of time, this could lead to A. Blighting. B. Negligence. C. Breach of contract. D. None of these. Answer. A. A blighted area means an area that, in its present condition and use, substantially impairs or arrests the sound growth of the municipality, retards the provision of housing accommodations, or constitutes an economic or social liability, and is a menace to the public health, safety, morals, or welfare. Question 6. The broker loan law states that the broker's loan statement must contain estimated costs including A. Escrow. B. Appraisal. C. Title. D. All of these. Answer. D. The broker's loan statement must include, among other things, estimated costs including escrow, title, appraisal, notary, recording, and credit investigations. Question 7. The possessor of land in which an easement crosses cannot A. Terminate the easement at will. B. Use the easement. C. Remain as dominant. D. None of these. Answer. A. An easement cannot be terminated at the will of the dominant property owner. Something of this nature must be determined by the courts. Question 8. A licensed real estate broker that specializes in property management usually acquires commission based on A. A percentage of the gross rents collected. B. The life of the leases. C. The value life of the property. D. A percentage of yearly estimated leases. Answer. A. A licensed real estate broker specializing in property management usually earns commission based on a percentage of the gross rents collected. Question 9. An interest in real property can be obtained by A. Court order. B. Prescription. C. Verbal agreement. D. Notarized documents. Answer. B. Typically, an easement is an interest in real property and it is acquired by prescription. Question 10. A deposit that is given to a broker from an interested buyer that has had all deposit receipt conditions fulfilled should be given to whom if the buyer decides to back out? A. The buyer. B. The seller. C. A neutral third party. D. None of these. Answer. B. If all the deposit receipt conditions have been fulfilled, the deposit belongs to the seller.
Passing the real estate exam can be hard, like really hard. Statistically, only about 50% of people actually pass the real estate exam on their first try. Those people that pass, they go on to become real estate agents. And the people that didn't pass, yeah, they either give up completely or have to try again. Both of these options are painful, disappointing, and upsetting. Exam Scholar Real Estate Edition has been named as the best real estate exam prep by multiple publications for 7 years in a row. If you are about to take the real estate exam, Exam Scholar Real Estate Edition is a no-brainer choice. There is no other real estate exam preparation service out there that comes close. To enjoy the longest membership time, lowest cost, real estate videos, audios, articles, flashcards, vocabulary, exam tips and tricks, a 1-year no questions asked refund policy, and be one of the 35,000 people that it has helped pass the real estate exam, then sign up in less than 5 minutes at www.realestateexamscholar.com.
Question 1. Which of the following real estate syndicates requires 100 or more investors? A. Limited partnership. B. Joint venture. C. Corporation. D. Real estate investment trust. Answer. D. A real estate investment trust, which is organized under federal laws, must have 100 or more investors. Question 2. A purchaser of real property utilizing leverage is A. Using the maximum amount of his own money to purchase property. B. Using the maximum amount of borrowed money to purchase property. C. Making the maximum down payment for the property. D. None of the above. Answer. B. Leverage is the use of credit, borrowed money, to purchase a property. When a property is 80% leveraged, it means a debt on the property is 80% of its value. The owner's equity is 20%. Question 3. A licensed contractor purchased 8 lots in a new subdivision and constructed 8 homes on the lots. He sold the 8 homes to various buyers and took back a $5,000 second trust deed on each of them. He would now like to sell the trust deeds within the year of their creation at a 20% discount. In order for him to do this, he A. Needs a real estate license. B. Must sell them through a real property securities dealer. C. Does not need a permit. D. Must deliver a real property security statement. Answer. A. These second trust deeds are classified as promotional notes and are real property securities. The contractor must obtain a permit to sell them, and since he is handling 8 in 1 calendar year, he is considered to be in the business and must have a license to sell them through a licensee. A dealer's endorsement is not required. Question 4. Which of the following statements is correct concerning a land contract? A. It is used when the seller wishes to convey title without a trustee relationship. B. It is similar to a lease in that the buyer has a right of possession but no rights in the title. C. The buyer has absolute assurance of receiving title upon performance of the contract. D. It is the least secure method of financing real property for the buyer because the seller has retained the title and the buyer is merely the equitable owner. Answer. D. A land contract is a security device used in financing real property, but it is the least secure method for the buyer, since the seller does retain the title. The buyer is the equitable owner, which means that he can use the property. While the seller retains the title, the buyer has rights in that title, and he often records the land contract to give public notice of those rights. Question 5. The liquidity of a borrower is generally determined by a loan officer in considering A. Debt to equity. B. Income total assets. C. Current assets to current liabilities. D. Fixed assets to current assets. Answer. C. A loan officer, in determining the liquidity of a borrower, is attempting to determine his ability to pay off current bills. Current assets to current liabilities would be the test he would use. Question 6. The owner of a property who signed a listing with a broker for 30 days was killed in an accident before the listing expired. The listing is A. No good as an authorization but binding if a buyer is secured later. B. Still in effect as the owner's interest was clear. C. Binding upon owner's heirs to carry out his promises. D. Terminated by the death of the owner. Answer. D. All personal service contract, such as listings, are terminated immediately upon death of either party. Question 7. Which of the following would usually be considered real property? A. Timber. B. Airspace above the land. C. Unharvested crops already contracted for. D. Land-filled dirt being moved. Answer. B. Of the choices given, airspace above the land is considered real property. Question 8. Conventional loans are distinguished from FHA-insured loans by all of the following except A. Conventional loans provide for a lower loan-to-value ratio. B. FHA loans generally provide for a longer repayment period. C. Conventional loans always permit a deficiency judgment, while FHA loans never allow them. D. Interest rates on FHA loans are generally lower than those on conventional loans. Answer. C. Deficiency judgments are not allowed on purchase. Question 9. Brother and sister purchase property as joint tenants. Later, the sister marries and deeded her interest to herself and her husband. A. The joint tenancy continues to exist in all three persons. B. The brother remains as a joint tenant. C. The joint tenancy is terminated. D. The sister's deed to her husband is voidable by the brother. Answer. C. Joint tenancy require the four equal unities of time, title, interest and possession between two or more parties. Once any of the four unities is broken, it can no longer be a joint tenancy. Question 10. Theft as it relates to real property includes all of the following except A. Entering and removing part of the realty. B. Defrauding by misrepresentation. C. Signing another's name without authorization. D. Carrying away any portion of the security of a mortgage with the intent to defraud the mortgage. Answer. C. Signing another person's name as forgery. It may lead to theft in our way of thinking, but is not defined as such in the Penal Code. Question 1. A salesperson receives an offer from a buyer who has no cash but offers a deposit of $500 in the form of personal note payable in 30 days. A. This is unacceptable since a deposit must be in cash or a check. B. The form of deposit is immaterial as long as the $500 figure appears on the deposit receipt. C. A salesperson may accept a personal note as deposit if he advises the seller of this prior to acceptance. D. A salesperson may accept a note if made in favor of the broker to handle expenses. Answer. C. It is perfectly all right for the salesperson to accept a personal note as a deposit, but this must be disclosed to the seller before the acceptance of the offer. Question 2. Collecting rents, fixing up the property and showing vacant units are the types of responsibilities that would be assumed by A. A broker. B. A resident property manager. C. A salesman. D. An attorney at law. Answer. B. These are the types of things that a resident property manager does. Question 3. A person who has been given the right to act on behalf of another is known as A. Affiant. B. Attorney in fact. C. Executor. D. Principal. Answer. B. The power of attorney is the piece of paper and the one with the right to act is the attorney in fact. Question 4. A prudent lender would take into consideration which of the following before issuing a loan? A. Borrower's ability to pay. B. The market value of the property that is the security for the loan. C. Current economic trends. D. All of the above. Answer. D. The lender would consider all aspects of the loan as mentioned in choices 1, 2, and 3. Question 5. Which of the following represents a gross misrepresentation by an agent? A. His representation is an obvious falsehood. B. His representation is made with a knowledge of the falsehood. C. His representation caused the aggrieved party to enter into the contract. D. All of the above. Answer. D. All of these are examples of gross misrepresentation by an agent. Question 6. The relationship between effective and nominal interest is that A. Effective interest is what the buyer pays, nominal interest is what is named in the loan application. B. Effective interest is what the buyer pays, nominal interest is what is named in the advertising. C. Effective interest is what the buyer pays, nominal interest is what is specified in the note. D. There is no difference. Answer. C. Effective rate is the actual interest rate paid by the borrower. Nominal rate is the interest rate specified in the note. Question 7. In assessing the profitability of a real estate office, the broker must consider desk cost. Which best describes how to calculate desk cost? A. Calculate the cost of all the desks. B. Calculate the gross profit for the office, less the expenses, divide by the number of desks. C. Divide the total cost of rent, utilities and advertising by the number of desks. D. Divide the total operating expenses of the office, including salaries, rent, insurance, etc., by the number of desks. Answer. D. Desk cost is the total cost of operating expenses of an office divided by the number of desks in the real estate office. Question 8. Under some loans covered under the Federal Truth in Lending Law, the borrower has a right to rescind the loan. The right to rescind is A. 3 days. B. 5 days. C. 10 days. D. 14 days. Answer. A. On loans where the personal residence is used as security, other than the first trust deed used to purchase the property, the borrower has 3 days to rescind. Question 9. A property is not listed for sale. A person who wants the property executes an offer to purchase it through a real estate agent and gives the broker a $5,000 check as a deposit. The broker A. Can accept the check on behalf of the property owner provided he presents the offer directly to the seller as the seller's agent. B. Cannot accept the check. C. Can accept the check as the exclusive agent of the buyer. D. None of the above. Answer. C. You can accept the check as exclusive agent for the buyer, but you have no listing with the seller. Question 10. The economic life of an improvement as compared to the physical life is usually A. Longer. B. Shorter. C. The same. D. Depends on the type of improvement. Answer. D. Most houses are torn down before they fall down. When a house cannot be used for rental income or residential purposes, it no longer has any economic worth and is generally torn down. Question 1. A real estate broker only has a right to earn a commission when the property sells during the listing period, except when which of the following is included in the listing agreement? A. A broker's protection clause. B. Exculpatory clause. C. A subordination clause. D. None of the above. Answer. A. The broker is entitled to a commission if the property is sold to parties with whom he has negotiated during the term of the listing for a stated number of days after the listing expires. Question 2. Harris and Davis, single people, owned a parcel of real property as joint tenants. Harris encumbered his interest for $10,000, borrowing the amount to pay medical bills without the knowledge or consent of Davis. Shortly thereafter, Harris died, with the debt still unpaid. Which of the following would be true? A. Davis and the lender would be tenants in common, each owning 1/2 interest in the property. B. Davis would own all of the property free and clear of the encumbrance. C. Davis would own all of the property but would be subject to the $10,000 loan. D. Davis and the beneficiary would own the property as joint tenants, each with a 1/2 interest. Answer. B. On the death of one joint tenant, the survivors take title to the property without the obligation to pay on foreclosed liens. Question 3. Occasionally, the title to real property becomes unmarketable. Which of the following causes would be least likely to result in that eventuality? A. Imperfect title, due to a breach caused by adverse possession of a prior owner. B. A lease pendens filed by the husband of the owner of record. C. Restrictions imposed by a private owner through a deed notation. D. Public restrictions contained in zoning ordinances and building codes. Answer. D. Public restrictions rarely cause title to real property to be unmarketable, private restrictions sometimes do. Question 4. Prices have risen 20%. What has happened to the value of the dollar? A. It has gone down 16 2/3%. B. It has gone down 20%. C. It has gone down 25%. D. None of the above. Answer. A. For instance, an item that used to sell for $1 now sells for $1.20. The dollar now buys 5/6 of what it used to buy. Its value has gone down 1/6 or 16 2/3. Question 5. What supports the floor and ceiling loads? A. Joists. B. Studs. C. Supporters. D. Mudsills. Answer. A. Joists are the beams that run horizontal and parallel to each other and are used to support the floor and ceiling loads. Joists are beams, not rafters. Question 6. A broker who takes a listing with option to purchase is, first of all, A. A principal. B. An optioner. C. An optionee. D. An agent. Answer. D. A listing agreement which contains an option to purchase is first of all a contract employing the broker to act as an agent for the owner in the sale of the property, and that is his principal role. If he exercises the option, he operates in the capacity of a principal in its resale, but this is secondary to this responsibility as an agent. Question 7. An inner-city neighborhood is well integrated with civic groups working to maintain social harmony. However, mounting problems with schools and with increasing crime have caused several white families to move out. In which of the following statements is broker Brown in violation of the law? 1. He is actively soliciting listings in the area with the slogan "Sell Now, Save Equity." 2. He is offering lower commission rates to whites who patronize his business. A. 1 only. B. 2 only. C. Both statements. D. Neither statements. Answer. C. Both of these acts are in violation of the fair housing laws. Question 8. The liquidation of a financial obligation on an installment plan or basis is A. Conversion. B. Amortization. C. Acceleration. D. Conveyancing. Answer. B. Amortization means to pay principal and interest over the life of the loan. Question 9. Mr. and Mrs. Davis held real property as husband and wife. Mr. Davis died and his will specified that all his interests were to go to his eldest son, Thomas. Son Thomas would A. Inherit an undivided 1/2 interest in the property. B. Acquire a 1/2 interest in the property. C. Acquire title to the property in fee simple, as he is the eldest male heir. D. Acquire no interest in the property as it would automatically go to the widow. Answer. A. Under the community property law, either spouse may will his or her undivided 1/2 to anyone they choose. Question 10. Inasmuch as real property requires more time to market than listed securities, require more care, and comes in larger denominations, its return should be A. About the same as from bonds. B. Higher than from bonds and less than from first trust deeds. C. Equal to the return from first mortgages. D. Higher than that of bonds or first mortgages. Answer. D. The return from real property should be higher than from bonds or first trust deeds because of the above factors. Question 1. Which restriction would be the most difficult to enforce by a developer of a subdivision? A. Size limitations. B. Limitations of dollar amount spent on improvements. C. Square footage of homes. D. Height of structures. Answer. B. Since the value of the dollar changes, the amount of improvements that a certain dollar amount could achieve would be constantly changing and would result in differing improvement results. Question 2. In order to obtain a loan, a person would likely go to A. A bank. B. Federal Housing Administration. C. Department of Veterans Affairs. D. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Answer. A. Banks are the actual lenders while the FHA and VA are institutions that guarantee all or a portion of a loan in order to procure more favorable terms. Question 3. A mortgage and trust deed are the same in which they allow A. The property to be sold in the event the borrower defaults. B. Prescriptive benefits. C. An estate in gross. D. None of these. Answer. A. A mortgage and trust deed are the same in the fact that if the borrower defaults on the loan, they allow for the sale of the property. Also known as a security interest. Question 4. What does a desist and refrain order do if issued by the Real Estate Commissioner? A. Places restrictions on the sale of properties in a subdivision. B. Places a halt to sales and marketing of properties in a subdivision. C. Places a time constraint on the sales of properties in a subdivision. D. None of these. Answer. B. If there is an issue with a sales program of a subdivision, The real estate commissioner could obtain a desist and refrain order which would immediately halt the sales and marketing of the properties. Question 5. It is to the truster's advantage to include A. Subordination clause. B. Dependent clause. C. Independence clause. D. Reserve clause. Answer: A. It is to the truster's advantage to include a subordination clause in a trust deed because it allows the truster to obtain a later trust deed which will move into prior position, as regards to payment, in case of default. Question 6. In order to have a valid agency relationship, the commission agreement must be A. In writing. B. Filed with a broker. C. Within the acceptable bounds of commission rates. D. Notarized. Answer: A. The commission agreement must be in writing when forming a valid agency relationship. Question 7. The collection of mortgage payments from borrowers and related responsibilities of the loan servicer is known as A. Servicing. B. Lending. C. Collecting. D. Managing. Answer: A. This type of work is known as servicing. These actions are responsibilities of a loan servicer. Question 8. The fund set aside for replacement of common property in a condominium, PUD or cooperative project is called A. Replacement Reserve Fund. B. Reserve HOA Fund. C. Interchange Fund. D. Cooperative Exchange Fund. Answer: A. This type of fund is called a replacement reserve fund. It is set aside for replacement of common property in certain projects. Question 9. A commitment from a lender to the borrower or other mortgage originator guaranteeing a specific rate for a specific time at a specific cost is called A. Rate lock. B. Fixed rate. C. Lock terms. D. Fixed terms. Answer: A. When a lender commits to the borrower or originator a specific rate for a specific time at a specific cost, this is called a rate lock. Question 10. A limit on the amount that payments can increase or decrease during any one adjustment period is called A. A rate lock. B. A period rate cap. C. A terms lock. D. Fixed rate. Answer: B. A period rate cap is a limit on the amount that payments can increase or decrease during any one adjustment period.
Exam Scholar, Real Estate Edition.